Hey everyone, today we are talking about how to sell your home for top dollar so you don't leave a single penny on the closing table, and we're getting started right now. Welcome to the new channel. My name is Josh Ducoulombier and I am a local realtor here in Central Maryland. If you ever have any real estate questions or anything I can do to assist, to help out, please feel free to call on the number that you see on your screen right now. I personally answer those calls and text messages and would love to help if you ever need anything at all. Again, today we are talking about how to sell your home for top dollar. So let's jump in right now. The first thing that we're keeping in mind here when we're listing homes and selling homes is pricing. It's one of the most important things to make sure that we get correct right out the gate, so that one, we want to make sure we're getting quick offers, and that will hopefully lead to multiple offers, which as a seller is in your absolute best interest to be able to work with and negotiate more than one offer. So that's our goal with that. Another reason why pricing the home right out the gate correctly is so important is because if you can sell your home in a week versus 30 to 45 days, and in that week you had 20 showings instead of 100 showings, how much easier and more of a stress-free process would that be for you? That many less days that you're having to make your beds, make sure the home is in perfect spotless condition, which hopefully is going to make the process a lot easier and less stressful for you, the seller, and that is the ultimate goal. Another thing in pricing that you want to keep in mind is similar homes that have sold in your area. So you want to look for homes within a reasonable distance from your doorstep, similar homes that have like square footage, that have similar condition. And these are homes that we want to look at and see what they've sold for, because also this is what appraisers are going to look at, and that kind of takes me into the next thing, is keeping in mind what the home is going to appraise for. So many buyers out there, very few buyers are purchasing cash, which means that almost every buyer, potential buyer for your home, is going to be using financing, which also means that they are going to be mandated to have an appraisal on the home. And bank will only lend the buyer as much as the home appraises for. So to avoid any kind of hiccup or potential issues in the middle of your contract, we want to try to keep in mind exactly what that home is going to appraise for, and kind of jump into the mind of appraisers and similar homes that they're going to be looking at to make sure that there's no issues down the road with that. We also want to look at your current competition. So the homes that are similar to yours that are available on the next street or down the street, to see exactly what buyer who's going to be going to look for a home tomorrow, exactly in addition to your home, what else is going to be available? How are they priced? How do we compare to those homes to make sure that we are as competitive as possible? Next is the appearance of the home. This is extremely important. Make sure that the house shows at its best and pops in professional photography for your home online, since that's where almost every single buyer is starting. I know even when you're not in the market, my wife sends me homes every single day, so people are always looking. This is where everyone starts. So you want to make sure that the home appears as best as it can in pictures, and then ultimately in person when buyers and other realtors are showing the home in person. So we want to make sure that your home is as clean and as tidy as possible. So most sellers are still living in their home, so this can be a challenge. Never know how much stuff you have until you begin the process and start thinking about selling and actually packing stuff, and you always have way more than you think you had, and that's totally normal. So it's not just you. So depending on how much stuff you have, you may want to look into maybe a storage unit to see if that's an option to kind of help declutter the home. So it's going to depend on how much stuff you have, but you want to have it as clean and as tidy as possible, so that people, as buyers, look online and ultimately walk through the front door, they can start picturing themselves in your home. And to make sure that the home looks as big as it can, you want to make sure that you really only have essentials in the home. So things like your furniture and things like that, but as much as the other stuff as you can, You want to get it out of sight in a storage unit if possible, just so that people are not seeing that, so the home feels as big as it possibly can and shows as well as it possibly can. Now, tied into this a little bit, just want to talk about scent of the home. So I grew up with a dog and a couple cats, so I am definitely a pet lover, but when it comes to selling your home, this is definitely something that you want to keep in mind. So maybe a non-pet owner comes in the door and they smell some of those pet odors, and that's something that we want to try to minimize as much as possible so that you can appeal to the mass amount of buyers. So being aware of this can be extremely helpful. Things like air fresheners, just making sure that in the first 5 seconds when a buyer walks in the front door, they're hit with something that smells good. That's gonna go a long way to get quick offers and strong offers, along with all these other things that we are going to be talking about. Next, as much as possible, you want to depersonalize the home, meaning taking down as much personal photography and things like that around the home. The reason for this is you want potential and future buyers to start imagining themselves in the home, so that when they're walking through your home, it's not a feeling of coming into someone else's home. It's more of, I can really imagine myself cooking up some awesome meals in this kitchen, the man cave that I can make in this basement. These are the kind of things that you want buyers to start doing. So depersonalizing as much as possible is definitely something that can help to make sure to create an environment that potential buyers can start imagining and picturing themselves in your home. Next, we want to keep the reason that you're selling to yourself. This could be something small. The reason why I bring this up is sometimes sellers are selling for maybe a personal hardship or something personal, and a lot of times buyers will ask, they want to know, hey, why is the seller moving? Can you let me know? They only bought 2 years ago. Can you let me know why they're moving? And honestly, my perspective on that is that it's really none of their business, especially as a seller, and when you're looking to make sure that you're doing things in your best interest to get yourself top dollar. So this is something, for example, maybe there was a loss of a family member or some sort of personal hardship that is a big reason in why you're selling. Well, this is something that maybe potentially a buyer could see as an opportunity to submit a lowball offer or think that you are in need of a quick sale. These are things as sellers you don't want going through a buyer's head. Next, you want to identify any kind of repairs that may be needed, as well as maybe some cosmetic things that just help your home show at its best. So, if you can avoid any kind of obvious repairs coming up on a home inspection and getting those fixed up front, that's definitely a plus. And then cosmetic things, maybe like a fresh coat of paint, maybe if, replacing some outlet covers or some switch covers. These things are in general pretty inexpensive and can help the home pop and show at its best in pictures and when people are actually coming and physically looking at your home. Next, negotiating professional. So this is something, especially right now, since we are in such a crazy seller's market, there are just so many more buyers than there are available homes on the market. So this is something that I just wanted to throw out there now because of the current market that we're in. A lot of times we're seeing multiple offers, 2, 3, 4, 6 offers on a home, depending on the price point. So little things like acknowledging, communicating with the buyer when an offer is submitted, just telling them, hey, thank you so much. We've received your offer. Due to the nature of how much interest there is, we're going to be waiting through the weekend to make a decision. Things like that can help keep buyers engaged so they're not running off and looking at other homes and then potentially withdrawing that offer. So things like that can help go a long way to make sure that we keep buyers active and excited about the offer that they've submitted on your home. Now, this last one is really not necessarily a tip that's going to help you get top dollar for your home, but it is going to help make this process smoother for you and less stressful towards the end for you. So I like to let people know about this because it does help with that process. So it's not something you're dealing with last minute. If you are living in Colombia, most of you, 85 to 90% of you homeowners are going to be familiar and have what's called Colombia tax, CPRA. This is applicable in most of Colombia. When you are selling a home, Colombia will never jump in and stop a sale. but they do act as similar to an HOA. So they do have requirements for things like paint color on all exterior items. So like if you paint your home, it's got to be an approved color. Things like sheds, fences, these things they have guidelines on. And sometimes if people don't get those items approved, they will come up during the letter of compliance part of Columbia's external inspection. So almost all buyers are going to ask for a Columbia compliance letter. And what that's going to tell them during the contract process is it's going to tell them if anything is not in compliance with Columbia. And this is something as a seller you want to get ahead of and you want to get done as early as possible so that you're not finding out of any potential violation a week before closing and then you do not have enough time to take care of it. So for example, I had a buyer about a year ago. I was representing the buyer and the seller did not order this, early. So they ordered it once they got a contract, and then it took 2 to 3 weeks to get. And we found out that the shed was not in compliance with the size requirements that Columbia Association had. Long story short, there was some back and forth, and ultimately the buyer chose to have the shed removed completely because as a buyer, you inherit any violations from Columbia Association once you close. So the buyer is always going to ask for that letter of compliance. So as a seller, if you order that before you even list the home and you're able to hand it to the buyer the day that you accept the contract, that's going to get that out of the way. So it's nothing that you have to worry about later in the game. Now, similar to this, if you have a homeowners association, I always recommend you call up your HOA and you ask what the cost of your resale package is, because these can range depending if it's a condo or an HOA. They can range from $250 to $450. That package is required by state law for a seller to provide to a buyer prior to closing. So this is something you want to get out of the way so it's just nothing you have to deal with late in the game. It's going to tell the buyer about the financials, about the budget of the HOA or the condo, and it's going to give them all those things. It's also going to tell them if anything's not in compliance with that specific condo or HOA. There is an HOA contingency in the Maryland state contract, so you don't want to give the buyer a way out late in the game, and that contingency doesn't start until they physically receive the package, whether it's email or in person. So if you're able to give that to the buyer like the first day or within the first week, that's going to get that review contingency out of the way so that you as a seller don't have to worry about giving that to them a week or two before closing and having that up in the air. So those are my tips for how to sell your home for top dollar here in Maryland. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out here at this number. I would love to answer any questions that you may have. I'm available 7 days a week. And thank you so much for stopping by, and we look forward to talking to you soon.